Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about when people will be satisfied, when it'll be enough, when it will stop. We're going to do this because somebody asked me. Somebody brought it up. And the context was really, when will those who are seeking change, those looking for progress, those searching for justice, when will they be satisfied? When will it be enough? And it gets to the heart of something I said recently. There are no new conservative ideas. Because this question, there's really two questions there. But the idea really boils down to understanding that fact. There are no new conservative ideas. There may be new ways to package a conservative idea, defend it, market it, brand it. But there aren't new conservative ideas. By definition, it's not really a thing, not in any major way. Holding to traditional attitudes and values, and cautious about change or innovation, typically in relation to politics or religion. By definition, new conservative ideas, not a thing, not really. Now, that isn't to say that a person who is generally conservative can't come up with a new idea. But that new idea is progressive, just coming from somebody who is generally conservative, which makes sense because conservatives typically just defend old progressive ideas. And I know that doesn't make sense. Women voting. I would assume that most conservatives of today would say yes, women should be able to vote. They would defend that idea. What about 100 years ago? 150 years ago? Probably not. They wouldn't defend it because they'd be trying to stick to the status quo, which is what conservatives do. To take this further, because it does seem odd to suggest that conservatives really just hold on to old progressive ideas. The conservative party in the United States is the Republican Party, known as the Party of Lincoln, right? Lincoln was a progressive. Lincoln was a progressive. And I know somebody's going to say he's a Republican, conservative. I've got a video on the Southern strategy. I'll put it down there. I don't think anybody would argue, though, that ending slavery was maintaining the status quo. It was certainly change, innovation. It was progressive. You know, when Lincoln got reelected, he got a letter, an address, from the International Working Men's Association. In this little address, it really covered four main points. The first, congratulations on your continued opposition to slavery. This is good. The second was that the working class of Europe were behind him. The third was that the contest going on in the United States was really a global battle between property, capital, and labor, and that the working men of Europe were behind him. And the fourth was that it was a historically progressive event, and that it would usher in the era of the working class. This little letter was drafted by a guy in London. He was in London because he was kind of like exiled there, persona non grata, because he wrote this little pamphlet about this new economic theory called the Communist Manifesto. The spiritual ancestor of the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln. Lincoln was getting fan mail drafted by Karl Marx I'm willing to bet they don't talk about that at their meetings. This isn't to say that all new ideas are good, or that all old ideas are bad. It's just saying that the new ideas come from the progressive side, and the conservative side of things tries to hold things back. And maybe on some level that's good. Maybe the conservative side, that anchor on society and the world at large, maybe at times it stops the progressives from chasing a new bad idea too far. So maybe there's a benefit to it. But at the end of the day, when you're really talking about it on a global scale, when you're looking at it through a historical scope, when are people satisfied? When does it end? It doesn't. Ever. It will continue to go on. Even once all the problems we have today are solved, there will be other injustices. It doesn't end. But see, when people ask this, when will they be satisfied? They're not really asking what would satisfy people. What they really want to know is, when is it enough for me personally? What can I do? And the answer to that, my answer, because it's not an unanswerable question, I would suggest that it's you do what you can, when you can, where you can, for as long as you can. You play out your part in changing the world, in helping it progress, in seeking justice. But most people who ask this, they're not really asking what they can do. They're asking what the minimum those people will accept. What's the minimum that we can give up and allow us to return to the status quo? That's really the question. I would suggest that just attempting to do the minimum in regards to seeking justice is probably not the best way to go about it. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.